Welcome back 40k fans to another battle report by Battleforged Brothers, and today it is a game of Flesh versus Steel. It is High Fleet Gargaroth are back and they are against the Necrons today. So as you can see, we are playing over this abandoned Imperial complex, supply dumps over here with the armoured containers, boxes, barrels and ammo crates kicking around. You can tell that there's been some form of Imperial presence, but there are nobody here today. A couple of the Promethean pipe relay, and as you can see by the dice, our deployments. So we'll be playing across this this battle today, and as we've said, it is Tyranids versus Necrons, and the mission, we are playing the Scouring. So that is 6 objectives. Majority are worth 2 points. However, there is an inferior objective and a superior objective. So objectives are objective 1 near the Space Marine statue over here. We have objective 2, which is right on top of the armoured containers there. Now the green dice for that represents this is the superior objective, which is worth 4 points. We have objective 3 just near the corner of the Promethean pipe relay. Objective 4 is at the opposite end. That is objective 4, although it's tilted to show objective 6. We have positioned it that way just so that Graham knows which one is 4. Just for more benefits that. So that one over there is objective 4. We have objective 5, which is just through the window here, just round this corner near this end. And objective 6, which is the inferior objective marked by the white dice, is just on the corner of the compound where the Imperial statue is. So it looks as though pretty much a lot of fighting is going to be around mainly the Space Marine statue and the armoured containers, with a lot of points picking up there. Of course, Linebreaker, First Blood and Slay the Warlord is also on the cards today as well. So we will come back. At the moment, points wise, the Tyranids, they are the underdog, so they will be going first unless Graham can seize the initiative. But we just going to do on camera, just going to roll for deployment, just to do it nice and fair. So for deployment, for me, I get a 6, and if Graham can get a 6, it'll be a re-roll. Otherwise, it'll be my choice as to whether I deploy first or deploy second. Okay, on a 1, I think I will opt to deploy second in this scenario. So we will be back after Necrons have set up, and for the Necron lines, there is their deployment there. It is Dawn of War, so we'll be back after deployment for the Necrons. Right, okay, so this is the Necron force that will be taken on High Fleet Gargaroth today. So over this side, moving from left to right, we have the Warlord, the Overlord with War Scythe and Resurrection Orb. Just in front of him is a squad of 10-man warriors, just behind the Aegis there. Just supporting them, just flying in at the moment, is the Doom Scythe. Just behind there, just behind the Wraiths, is 5-man squad of Lich Guard with the swords and shields. We have a squad of Wraiths here with whip coils. Another squad there, just on top of the ruined section of the wall here, is a 5-man squad of Immortals with the Tesla carbines. And anchoring the right hand side for the Necrons is Ghost Ark, which has a 10-man squad of warriors inside there as well. Just in reserve for the Necrons, they are using a patrol detachment as well as the super auxiliary. So 3 command points for being battle forged and none extra. Just in reserve is a 5-man squad of Deathmarks. We also have Monolith, which will be plummeting down from the tomb ship. And of course, we also have an Obelisk to deal with as well. So a lot of guns, a lot of big tough units for the Tyranids to chew on. So speaking of Tyranids, we'll come back after their deployment and see what units that we've brought today. Right, okay, so this is High Fleet Gargaroth today, which will be taking on the Necrons. So just moving from the far left, we have 2 Carnifexes with the Devourers of Brain H Worms and the massive Crushing Claws. Behind them is a unit of Zoanthropes, so 3 Zoanthropes, 1 Neurothrope. Power they've chose is the Horror. And just behind here is the Warlord, and he powers the Flying Hive Tyrant, and he has chose is the Horror and Catalyst. Just below him is a 3-man unit of warriors with Death Spitters and Sighting Talons. We have the Exocrine, a squad of 10 Termagants, then another squad of 10 behind them. The Malanthrope, just to keep Synapse, and the -1 to hit them with his Shroud Bubble. We have a 3-man squad of Hive Guard with the Impaler Cannons, and just moving across, anchoring the right-hand side, 10-man squad of Gargoyles, just with the standard equipment. We have the second in command, which is equipped exactly the same way as the Warlord. So that is two sets of 2 Devourers with Brain Leech Worms. So that's 12 shots, not too bad. Powers are exactly the same, so Horror and Catalyst. And as you can see, just anchoring the far right-hand side, just protecting lots of flying winged monsters over here, is the Hive Crone, just with the Drill Cannon and the Tentaclids. Just in reserve for High Fleet Gorgoroth today is a Trigon Prime. He'll be burrowing up somewhere, and there's another squad of 10 Termagants that will be popping up as well. There is no upgrades in regards to adrenaline glands or toxin stacks, nothing like that. We are the underdog, so obviously we will be going first, unless of course that Graham can attempt to seize the initiative. So I'm presuming that the Necrons will want to seize. Yeah. So on a nice tasty roll of 6, on a 1 they don't. So you can use a command point if you wish to. No command points getting used at this stage. Just to mention as well, for command points, we are running a battalion detachment, and with us being Battleforged, Tyranids have 6 command points to use at their disposal. So we will come back after the turn 1 movement for Tyranids. Back in a moment. Right, okay, so just after movement for Tyranids on their turn 1. As you can see, there's a big surge forward. So the Carnifexes alongside the Zoanthropes have just shifted up. They moved 7, and the Zoanthropes close behind 5. The Warlord has just came straight over and landing in the compound near the Imperial statue. Just coming across here, Tyranid warriors have just moved over the barricade there just to keep Synapse as well. We also have Synapse here covered by the Malanthrope, but just in case. And as you can see, the first squad, followed by the second squad of Termagants, is just shifting forward, trying to make a breakthrough into the compound here. The Exocrine staying exactly where he is, just to hopefully get some nice shots from his big plasma gun through maybe at the wraiths. The Hive Guard have stayed exactly where they are as well. Moving across on the left-hand side, everything with wings has took off. So the second in command is just currently sat just near objective 3. He's not claiming it at the moment. Obviously, that will all depend on the end of the game. The Hive Crones just came up 28 inches across and just turned maybe to go down this way, but we need to see what the Necrons are going to do on their turn as well. So we've just kept back a little bit. And the Gargoyles are just swarming around here. Hopefully keep them out of harm's way that way as well. So apart from that, nothing else to report. So we will quickly move on with the psychic phase and the shooting phase. Cover everything all at once. So we'll come back in a moment. Right, okay, so just back after psychic and shooting. Psychic phase was quite good. So over here, we cast the horror onto the Ghost Arc. So it's -1 to hit. Out of range for the zoanthropes. And in regards to psychic and shooting from this guy got smite, rolled a 10 and got 5 mortal wounds, and the rest gave us first blood. We took out that Wraith squad over there, which was great. Just moving across this way, nothing really apart from firepower from the Exocrine, because he hasn't moved. Shot into the Doom Scythe and reduced it down to 6 wounds for that, so very impressive from the Exocrine. Trying to get some more wounds off for the Hive Guard. We did get a couple of hits. We got 1 hit. We also used one of our command points. We've used one in the shooting and 1 in the psychic as well, so we are down to 4 command points. Not in range this way, but smite wise, we got a very good smite on the warriors, reduced them down to 5, and shot a couple of tentaclids from the Hive Crone just in range and did no damage there. So at the moment, obviously we are on psychic powers as well. Of course, we also cast Catalyst onto these guys just to give them a little bit of protection just in case. And apart from that, 1-0 at the moment to High Fleet Gorgoroth for first blood, but by all means, we have a big metal wall probably to come to us. And let's not forget, the Necrons, they also have some reserves to come on as well. We've got reserves, but Monolith and an Obelisk be a little bit to deal with for the High Fleet. So we'll come back. There's no assaults to do, no morale. Just the actually we will have morale over here for these guys. So we'll sort morale out, and then of course we will cover the movement phase for Necrons on their turn 1. So we'll be back in a moment. Right, okay, so we're just back after Necrons on their turn 1 movement. So a lot of stuff has happened. So first of all, reanimation over here. Done leadership as well. Leadership was absolutely fine. Reanimation, Graham managed to get 1 of them back up. So they've just come along 5 inches, still in coherency, and the Warlord behind them as well. The Lich Guard just coming menacingly through the barricades here, closely in support of the Wraiths, who came up at 12 inches just behind here, close to the inferior objective. The Monolith came plummeting down, more than 9 inches away from my commander here. Looking to get some shots, more than likely in the shooting phase here. The Ghost Arc with the Warriors has just came, not at full distance, just in support of the Monolith. And just moving across this way, we have the Doom Scythe. It's not crashed, just obviously it is there, so we've took it off the base so that it rests properly. I think it looks pretty cool sweeping across here. More than likely looking to get some shots against my second in command. And just in the distance there, the Obelisk, ever menacing. It is a bit of a worrying one for us. Like I say, it's about 10, 11 inches away from ourselves there. So a lot of firepower on this side. Looks as it's a good job that the Obelisk is here actually, because this side was looking as though it was going to be a little bit more weaker. More of the heavy firepower concentrating over here. So no psychics for the Necrons. So we'll move straight on to shooting phase. There's a lot of shooting, a lot of firepower going to be coming in, especially with the Obelisk with a lot of Tesla. So we'll come back after shooting for Necrons on their turn 1. Right, so just back after the shooting phase for Necrons on their turn 1, and quite a devastating shooting actually. Not a lot of casualties, but a lot of firepower coming in. So over this side, the second in command has fell. That came from firepower from the Doom Scythe, these warriors here, these death marks, and the Obelisk as well, pumping every single shot into him, and he just couldn't withstand. So he's gone. Bit of a pain for that, but we're going to have to do something to deal with that. Got a bit of an idea. Moving across this side, the warriors, not in rapid fire range, but they shot into the Hive Crone and dealt no damage. The Monolith, pumping everything into the Hive, the leader here, the Hive Tyrant, the army commander, has reduced him down. He's limping along there. He's on 4 wounds, and that came from firepower from the men inside there, as well as rapid firing from it. The power that we cast onto that to reduce the hits by 1 did help us out there, but he is limping along. We're going to have to be really careful with this guy. But it's not over yet. The Necrons, they've got no assault, so we've just very quickly done reanimation. Graham's picked another one of his warriors up. And apart from that, no points scored yet. Almost the Warlord kill point there. So I think that's what Graham's going for, so we're going to have to get him out of dodge. So apart from that, we'll move on to the Tyranids for their turn 2 and see what we can do in response to this Necron menace. So we'll be back in a moment. Right, so just back after the turn 2 movement for the Tyranids, and as you can see, the Hive Crown has just pulled back out of way of the obelisk for its gravity pulse. Meanwhile, the Gargoyles have just came over this pipework here. Maybe he's looking to see if they can get some shots at the death marks. At the moment, however, these will have to shoot at the Doom Scythe. Well, the Hive Crown haven't really measured it, but I think the Gargoyles will have to shoot at the death marks just because these are outside of Synapse range. Over this side, Termagants have came ploughing through the barricades. You can just imagine them pouring over, all 6 of their limbs just clambering over towards these metal machines. Don't know what reason that the hive mind could ever have for them wanting to munch on some metal. Perhaps it's just to beat them off the planet so they can devour it. Over this side, the Hive Guards, they've just pulled through. Maybe still get some shots at the Doom Scythe. If we take that out, that'll certainly get rid of some firepower that the Necrons currently have. And it might free this side up as well to decide whether they go for that or whether they go for them. More than likely them. And just the Malanthrope is just pulled up to keep Synapse range, and obviously that's shrouding, as well as the warriors. They're just keeping Synapse for the Exocrine. Exocrine hasn't moved, so he'll be able to fire at his improved ballistic and also fire twice. So we'll have some nice targets for him to shoot at as well. Just over this side, the Warlord, he hasn't moved. Very risky, but we're going to have to... We are... Bit of a gambit that we're going to play. It probably won't pay off, but you have to be ballsy sometimes. And the Zoanthropes closely following the Carnifexes just to keep Synapse for them in case he goes. And they've obviously advanced. They haven't advanced, sorry, they've moved up their normal 7 inches. And just at the end of the phase, the Trigon Prime as well as 10 Termagants have just emerged from the tunnel more than 9 inches away, looking to maybe get some shots and a potential charge at the Ghost Ark. We'll have to wait and see what happens, however, as we move into the Psychic and Shooting phase for the Tyranids on their turn 2. Right, just back after the Psychic and Shooting phase for Tyranids on their turn 2. So, over here, quite decent from Psychic. We elected to do a Smite from the Zoanthropes, and we managed to get a 2 on there because there is a unit of 4. So with a unit of 4, you do get an additional D3 if you get pulled Smite off. So we got 2 on that and 2 on the other. And then on this one, we managed to get another 2. So dishing a lot of damage out of this guy. But he is on 4 wounds, and that came from shooting in the shooting phase from the Carnifexes. So we're ploughing a lot of damage into them guys. These Termagants firing their flesh borers in. Got a couple of hits, but no damage done. Moving across this way. We shot the Exocrine. No real other targets really to go to. We went to the Monolith. It is going to take some beating down. Took 2 wounds off that. And the Warriors elected to fire their Death Spitters into these guys over here and took 1 wound off. Firepower coming from the Hive Guard, however, managed to take down the Flyer. So it is a burning wreck over there. Obviously, it's not included for wreck purposes, just think it looks cool. Didn't explode. Over this side, just firepower coming in from the Gargoyles at the death marks and did no damage. Same from the Hive Crown as well. So, apart from that, there's nothing else really for us to do shooting-wise. We do have a couple of assaults to set off. So, we pre-measured it. We are going to attempt to charge the Carnifexes into the Ghost Ark, and we are also, just as a backup, going to attempt to charge the Trigon Prime in. So we pre-measured it. We need a 7-inch charge for these and a 9-inch charge for the Trigon Prime, with them being more than 9 inches away. So we will do the Carnifexes first, see if they get in, and then Graham can obviously elect his Overwatch. Okay, on an 6, 7, 8, sorry 9, they will be in there. Obviously we do need to resolve Overwatch before we move, and the Trigon Prime, he needs that result or better. Okay, on a 5 he will not be in, but we will get Overwatch resolved. See if the Ghost Ark can stop these getting in. I highly doubt it, but so far the Carnifexes are in, the Trigon Prime isn't. Graham of course will be able to fire Overwatch at that as well. So we'll come back after Overwatch and combat has been resolved. Right, so we are just back after the assault phase, and as you can see, the Carnifexes tore apart the Ghost Ark. And no damage was dealt on Overwatch, either side. And as you can see, the Warriors have just disembarked this way here. And just our consolidation move, we have just I keep wanting to say advance, but with it being a rule advance, don't take it as that I am advancing all the time. So they've just moved forward out of there, and them guys are looking as though they're going to try and pump as many shots into the Trigon Prime as possible. Good luck with that, because there's some Carnifexes chasing behind. But Necrons, they are certainly not out the bag. Yes, they have lost a little bit of firepower, but we still have a monolith which is very, very far from being destroyed, and a full strength operational obelisk over there as well. That is going to be a nasty thing to take care of, and I think there's probably not going to be a lot left around this side. But it is about the objectives, but I don't think we're going to be probably concentrating on it. I think we're just, at the moment, both armies are just shooting as much as they can, and the Tyranids, however, with their psychic support, just dishing out as much damage to each other as possible. So what will the Necrons do against this? We'll have to see. Their guns, their gauze arrays will be targeting the living mass over here, and I don't think the Warlord will be kicking around, but you never know. We have reduced these this firing capability, but I think Graham will be wanting revenge, so we'll be back after the movement phase for Necrons on their turn 2. Right, okay, so we are just back after the Necrons movement phase for their turn 2, and the Overlord has commanded march on, and everybody has answered. This unit here is back to full strength with their reanimation protocols. The Wraiths have come swooping straight over the armoured containers, more than likely looking to get into combat with these guys here. Monolith's just tilting round, more than likely bye-bye Warlord. Just round the corner, the Lich Guard, as well as the Immortals, just in support that way. And as we've seen, this squad's just moved forward a little bit. And the Obelisk has just come moving around this way, more than likely looking to get as much firepower into possibly the Hive Crone, or both the Hive Crone and the Gargoyles. And just coming over this side as well, the Warriors, they are a bit relentless. They are just spinning round, more than likely looking to get some shots into the Carnifexes that way as well. So with that done, no psychics obviously for the Necrons, so just shooting to do. So we will come back after the shooting phase. I'm guessing this Warlord will not be here much longer. So we can only hope that obviously Graham misses some firepower with that -1 on the hit there. But we'll come back, see what the results are. Back in a moment. Right, okay, so we are just back after the Necrons on their turn 2 shooting. We've also done at the end of the turn as well, because Graham's got no assaults. Over here, a lot of firepower coming in from the obelisk, as we expected. 3 Tesla spheres aimed at the Hydron and 1 down at the Gargoyles. Gargoyles are reduced just down to 3 little Gargoyles there, and took 1 wound off the Hydron. Firepower also coming in from the Death Marks, reduced them down as well. They will need to do morale. Pretty much already bust anyway, we just need to roll to see how many casualties we suffer. Not in Synapse as well, so they won't automatically be able to just ignore that. Over here, a couple of rapid fire shots coming in. A lot of firepower coming in from the Monolith as well, as taking this unit of Termagants that were down here, wipe them out, and the firepower from down here. Helpful for the Monanthrope, because we did reduce the hit rolls into these, but these are just, they're fine because they're just reduced by 1. Over here, however, firepower coming in at the Carnifexes, reduced 1 of them down to 7 wounds. And as you can see, the commander, he is still living. He's got a massive hole blasted through him, but he is slowly regenerating. He's on 1 wound. We're going to have to move him out the way. And that came from firepower from the Particle Whip, as well as a couple of shots coming in from the Flux Arcs. Unfortunately, Graham didn't manage to get Warlord there, but he is still limping around. So only the other thing really that we need to do is just morale over here, just to determine how many casualties we suffer. They are leadership 6. Yeah, they are wiped out. So that's that unit successfully destroyed by the Necrons, doing very well for their firepower. So we'll come back after the movement phase for the Tyranids on their turn 3, see what they can do in response to this firepower. So we'll be back in a moment. Right, so the Tyranids have advanced in their movement phase. So the Hydron, he's came scooting across this way. And these guys all around in the defensive formation have stayed exactly where they are. Looking to pump as much firepower in potentially the Wraiths as much as possible. Just coming over this way. The Wounded Warlord, we've accepted the fact that pretty much he's got nowhere to hide, so might as well dish as much damage out as possible. The Carnifexes, they've just get moved ever so closer towards these warriors here. And same on that side with the Trigon Prime and the Termagants. Just behind them is for psychic support, the Zoanthropes, just to be able to catch some, cast some powers off as well. So we have a psychic phase as well as shooting to cover, so we will come back once that is resolved. Hopefully we can get rid of some nasty units, so I'll be back in a moment. Right, so just back after the shooting phase for Tyranids on their turn 3. So a lot of firepower coming from these guys here, and it came down to the Exocrine. We reduced the Wraiths down to a single Wraith on 2 wounds. Try to fire down from the Hive Crone, failing miserably down at these warriors, didn't do any damage that way. Across this way, however, Smite coming in from the Zoanthropes managed to get an 11 on the results, so we did D6 damage, and also the additional D3 for a unit of 4, and we reduced the Monolith down to 14 wounds. We also cast from the Warlord, we cast Catalyst on there as well, the Horror, sorry, so reducing the ability for it to fire. A lot of firepower coming in from the Devourers, from the Warlord and the Carnifexes as well, reducing that down to one single warrior. We have got 1 charge to set off, and that is coming from the Trigon. Reckon he needs a 2-inch charge to get in, so pretty much can't fail it. Graham will of course get his Overwatch from the guy that is still alive. On a roll of a 7, he will be in. So Graham will do his Overwatch against him, and then we'll get the combat resolved over there as well. So we'll be back after combat phase is resolved, as well as movement for Necrons on their turn 3. Right, so just back after the Necrons movement for their turn 3. So the Monolith's just staying exactly where it is, more than likely looking to get some shots across here. Over this side, the Wraith, obviously he passed his morale. Just to cover for the assaults as well, we totally wiped out that unit there, so, and the Trigon Prime advanced. Over this side, everybody's just advancing forward that way, and over this way, the Death Guard just moving through. The Death Marks are just moving through under their the guise of the obelisk over there as well. Just behind the monolith is the Immortals, looking to get some firepower more than likely against potentially the Carnifexes. So we'll come back after the shooting phase for Necrons on their turn 3, see what damage they can do. I think they are going pretty much, they're holding quite a lot of objectives as we go into their turn 3 as well. So they'll want to be taking out as many units as possible. So we'll come back after this shooting phase. Right, okay, so just back after the turn 3 shooting for the Necrons. And end of their turn, because they had no charges that they wanted to do. So moving over this side, Warlord. We knew it was going to happen, it was just a matter of time. However, it did take quite a bit of firepower coming in from the Monolith. So he has been gone, so that's put the Necrons as it stands 1-1. But they are holding some objectives, so at the end of the game, they could potentially storm right ahead of us. Over this side, just a couple of shots coming in from the Teslas, reduced the this Carnifex down to 3. Moving across this side, no damage done to any of these. However, Hive Crone was brought down. That came from a couple of wounds dished out by the Gauls from here, but it was up to the obelisk, unleashed everything into him and dished out 8 wounds. He was only on 7, so he's gone. So there are no charges for the Necrons, so we are going into Tyranids turn 4. What can we do to respond? Little bit kind of spread, but I think I've got a bit of a plan, so hopefully we can get rid of some nasty units. So we'll be back after the movement phase for Tyranids on their turn 4. Right, so movement done, completed on the Tyranids turn 4. So the Hive Guard have stayed where they are, same as the Exocrine. Just moved the Malanthrope a tiny little bit up, still within synapse range this way as well. We've moved the Tyranid Warriors, but sneaky little Termagants got a 4 for their advance. So they've gone right the way across here, an inch away from the Monolith, and just within range of this here. So just keep them there, excuse me. And just moving across this way, as you can appreciate, the Zoanthropes have just crowding around this objective here, lent some psychic support as well as Synapse. Trigon Prime's Synapse creature anyway, he's just come 12 inches down here, and the Carnifexes have moved there 7 inch, looking to get into assaults with the Monolith. But before assault, of course, we will have psychic and shooting. Look as though we can see if we can dish as much damage out as possible. So let's have a look and see what we can do. Back in a moment. Right, okay, so just back after the psychic and shooting phase for Tyranids on their turn 4. So just across this way, psychic phase was pretty decent coming from these guys. We managed to cast the Horror as well as Smite, and we've got a D6 result, and we've reduced this down to 9 wounds. So very good going there. Just firepower from the Carnifexes around here, dropped 1 of the Immortals. And firepower over here came from the Warriors and the Exocrine. Came down to the Exocrine again. To be honest, he's sat at the back for the majority of the game, but he's done a lot of damage and got rid of that Wraith threat over there. Firepower from the Hive Guard, not great, wasn't their ideal target, but just dropped 3 of the Necron Warriors, so they'll have to do morale. Across this way, we decided to have a cheeky little shot into the Lich Guard and didn't do any damage. So apart from that, that's the shooting phase all done and dusted. We do have 2 assaults to set off. I'm going to charge the Trigon Prime into the Monolith. I've already pre-measured. To get within an inch, he needs 4. And the Carnifexes are going to charge the Warriors, the Immortal, sorry, and they need a 7. So we'll do the Carnifexes first. So on a 7 or more, on a 6, I will use my final command point to reroll that. Well, reroll one of them, sorry. Yep, they'll be in. Of course, Graham will get Overwatch, and for the Trigon Prime, yep, he'll definitely be in as well, which of course he will get to Overwatch. So we'll come back after Overwatch and combat has been resolved on these 2 as we move into the Necrons on their turn 4. Right, okay, so just back after the end of Tyranids turn 4 assaults, and the Monolith has gone. We did manage to take it out, very lucky. We got 2 hits, and we managed to strip down them last remaining wounds. So it did explode as well, dealing out D6 damage. So this unit took 2 casualties. They are still within synapse, so they're fine. This Carnifex is down to 2, and this Carnifex was on full health, and it's now currently down half strength. But Trigon Prime, who dealt out the damage, is down to 1 wound. So we've pulled him back, and these guys have just pulled forward. And Graham's unit, you'll notice that the unit is gone, the Immortals. That wasn't to do with the Carnifex. They did 1 wound, but Graham did luckily pass, and his unit was killed by the explosion of the monolith. So very good work there, but limping along. Don't think that's going to be around very much longer, but he's done what he's came up to do. So apart from that, nothing else really to report from Tyranid's side, but we still have a big unit over here. He is a bit stretched over there, but potentially do a lot of firepower down here. So we'll have to see what the Necrons do on their turn 4. So we'll come back after movement for the Necrons. Right, so just back after movement for Necrons on their turn 4. And as you can see, everybody is swarming through the centre here. I'm liking the look of this. It's burning wrecks. Obviously, it's, you know, the ammunition and flesh is certainly meeting steel in the centre courthouse here. And as we can see, one of the warriors has assembled himself back together. Another 2 is still down. These guys have just moved still within coherency. The death marks are just underneath the obelisk, which the obelisk has just come moving across as well. More than likely looking to get some shots off, potentially the Hive Guard down here as well. Just across here, the Lich Guard, obviously it looks as though they're going to go toe-to-toe with the Tyranid warriors. Nothing else to report over here, so we'll go straight into the shooting phase for Necrons on their turn 4 and see what they can do to wreak revenge. Right, so just back after the shooting phase for the Necrons. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. A lot of firepower coming in from the warriors, the death marks, and the obelisk as well. Has reduced this unit down to 1, still on full wounds. A lot of firepower coming in from over here, and that has took the Mananthrope down to 4 wounds. I did forget about the spore cloud on these, but I then remembered on this. So we have played it properly though, so obviously it was my fault that I forgot about it, so I will suffer for it. Could have potentially saved maybe a wound or 2, but to be honest, the amount of firepower that came in really wouldn't have made too much of a difference. Still in synapse range there as well, so absolutely fine. And nothing else to cover, just 1 charge to set off, which is the Lich Guard coming into the Tyranid warriors. So we've already pre-measured it, 2-inch charge, so pretty much don't roll a double 1. So yeah, absolutely fine. We will get Overwatch at the Lich Guard as well, so we'll get this combat resolved, and then we will move on to Tyranid's turn 5. Potentially the final phase is coming up, so we'll be back in a moment. Right, so we are just back after the end of Necrons on their turn 4 and the movement phase for Tyranids on their turn 5. So as you can see over here, we have fell back. We lost 2 Tyranid warriors, and this guy's down to 1 wound. We are in synapse range. We were before we moved anywhere. So we've dropped the Mananthrope back a little bit because he was here. So that was why we didn't have to do a morale. And this guy as well was still within synapse, so he's fine there. Staying exactly still with the Exocrine, because we'll pull back. We're looking to get a lot of shots into potentially the Lich Guard. The Carnifexes have just come hurtling around this through the cinders of the remains of the monolith, looking to maybe get some shots and maybe lend a hand on there. The Termagants only got a 1 for their advance, so they've moved 7. So they're just comfortably around this the superior objective around here. The Trigon Prime is staying exactly where he is. Don't want to risk losing him. And the Zoanthropes, they've just come piling around the Space Marine statue just to lend some psychic support as well as synapse as well. So apart from that, nothing else to cover. We'll just do a very quick psychic phase, and we'll go into a very quick shooting phase as well. So we'll be back after psychic and shooting. Right, so just back after the psychic and shooting, we totally forgot about our psychic powers, so just shooting. To be honest, it wasn't a great deal I could have targeted anyway because there's no real visible targets. So on to shooting, we fired the bioplasma cannon across this way, and reduced the warrior squad down to 1. They will have morale, but all of these can potentially get up if Graham gets a very, very good roll. So apart from that, firepower from the Carnifexes into the Lich Guard, dropped one of them and put another one onto 1 wound. So apart from that, we do just have 1 charge to do, and that'll be the Carnifex, the 2 Carnifexes into there, because they are individual. So we will be needing a 3-inch charge there, and from this guy here, we'll be looking at 6-inch from that one. So for the back guy, we'll just roll over here. Okay, on a 9 he'll be in, and the front one, on an 11, yes, he'll be in. So they're both in. No Overwatch from Lich Guard. There's no other charges to set off. So we'll come back at the end of the assault phase and the end of Tyranids on their turn 5. So we'll be back in a moment. Right, so we're just back after the end of Tyranids on their turn 5. And as you can see, combat-wise, we have dropped the unit by 1. They will get their reanimation. No damage done in return. Morale, however, this unit has gone. So at the end of that turn, nothing really significant. But apart from that, we will move on to the potential final turn. Necrons on their turn 5. Alright, okay, so we are just back after the Necrons on their turn 5. So, firepower coming over from the Death Marks and was against the Hive Guard, did no damage. Firepower down from the Obelisk. 2 spheres at 1 Carnifex, 2 spheres another. And it's killed one of the Carnifexes, he's totally untouched. These guys have fell back. And apart from that, there's nothing else to cover. So it comes all down to a dice roll. So on a roll of a 1 or a 2, it is all over. Nope, we will go into Tyranids for their turn 6. We'll see what we can do to maybe see if we can literally claw some points back. So we're just going to do the entire phases now because there's not a great deal on the board. So we'll be back at the end of Tyranids for their turn 6. Right, so just back after the Tyranids on their turn 6. So movement wise, as you can see, we've moved this guy up and this guy up as well. Stayed stationary with these two. And their closest target was the Lich Guard, which is no longer there. We've advanced with the Termagant unit across this way, as well as we haven't advanced with this Carnifex, we just moved our normal movement. We stayed exactly put with this one, just spread out a little bit, and we did in the sight phase, we cast the Horror on the Lich Guard, but it was no longer needed. And apart from that, that's the end of the Tyranids on their turn 6. As we go into the Necrons on their turn 6, the potential final turn for the game. So we'll be back at the end of the entire round. Alright, so we are just back after the turn 6 for Necrons. Not a lot of Tyranids are left. And that came, so the Obelisk has shifted along, as well as the Death Marks. The Overlord is just getting within range of the superior objective there. And firepower coming down took out the Tyranid warrior here, and the Termagants over there as well. Apart from that, nothing else, no charges. It comes down to a dice roll as to whether we go on to the final turn 7. On a roll of a 4, it does go on. So we will continue on. We will do, it looks as though it's going right down the wire. So we will do the final turn for Tyranids for their turn 7, and then the Necrons. So we'll be back in a moment. Right, so we are just back after turn 7 for Tyranids. It is getting desperate. So, firepower from the, well, moving. We managed to get the Carnifex up here with a 9-inch move advanced, just to contest this objective here. Don't know whether he's going to survive much longer though, because we do have this in our face. Now, with the Overlord being a character, obviously we have had to fire everything into this, and we've dropped it by a measly 4 wounds, so it's still kicking around on 20. So, absolutely fine there. So, apart from that, we spread these guys out as much as we possibly could so that one of them was in range. We did manage to get Catalyst on there, so it is very, very desperate times. So, they are still holding that objective there, and the Trigon Prime is holding that one there as well. So, we are going into the final turn of the game, which is, of course, the Necrons on their turn 7. To be honest, I think it looks as though that the Necrons have got it in the bag here, to be fair. So, But we will press on. We'll see what is left standing as we come back in a moment. Right, guys, we are just back after the end of Necrons on their turn 7, and it is a dynasty win. So this is how it's happened. So pretty much nothing has moved, and firepower came in from the death marks, dished out 3 mortal wounds with their 6s, reduced the Carnifex down further, passed a couple of saves, and then the almighty obelisk wiped them off the face of the earth, and nothing else to cover. So points, obviously, Graham got Slay the Warlord, that puts him on 1. He's covering that one there, that puts him on 4. And of course, the superior objective is held by none other than the army commander. That puts him on 8. Tyranid points wise, obviously we did get first blood. We are holding the inferior objective here, so that puts us on 2. That puts us on 5. And with a line break around here with the Termagants, that puts us on 6. So a comfortable win by the Necrons. To be honest, firepower from this thing, it's absolutely deadly. I will not fall for this one again, so I think I know how to deal with this now. But just the firepower coming from this is just unreal. Maybe it's not the most powerfulest machine in the 40k game, but just the amount of firepower it puts out is just devastating, again, especially against Tyranids. But absolutely brilliant game. Thoroughly enjoyed this one today. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Like I say, if you want to see any particular armies, or if you want to see any particular themed battle reports, check out the rest of the channel as well. And thanks for watching, guys, and tune in next time.